McDonald's isn't a burger company. It's a real estate empire. One that keeps a clown out front so you never look at the landlord. Right now, some smart, successful adult is writing a check for $750,000. Cash. Not borrowed, they check, and handing it straight to that clown. To run a restaurant he will never own, in a town he didn't choose, paying rent to the face on the sign. And the twist? He's the smart one. So forget whether this is a scam. The real question is why the smartest people you know line up around the block to become somebody's tenant. And call it the dream. Meet the man whose job is to get you to the front of that line. Kip works in franchise development. Kip has never said a false sentence in his life, which is exactly what makes him dangerous.
Owning a McDonald's isn't buying a business. It's joining a family.
The family requires proof of $750,000 in non-borrowed personal funds. Most families just do a potluck.
We simply find that our most successful candidates are liquid.
Liquid. Not your house. Not the retirement account you'd have to break open with penalties. Money that turns into cash without asking a bank's permission. They check. And understand what that number is not. It is not the price of a restaurant. It's the price of being considered. The velvet rope. For the interview, for the audition, for a lease. So park the obvious question. What is that $750 actually for? The answer isn't in the brochure. It's in the business model.
McDonald's is the most proven business model in the history of food.
He's right. That's the trap. Pocket that sentence. It comes back with lawyers. Now, the man who actually signed. Gus has run the same store for 22 years. Gus can tell you the price of a case of 10-to-1 beef patties without looking. Nobody at corporate has ever asked Gus how he's doing, but they have never once been late with an invoice.
First thing they tell you, you don't pick the store. You rank your top 10 states. Then you wait for the phone to ring.
He's not exaggerating. That's McDonald's own franchising page. No territories, no site preference. Site selection is a separate department. You are matched to a restaurant the way an organ is matched to a donor list, except the organ pays rent.
I asked for Tucson. I have never been to Tucson.
And forget building your own. In nearly every case, a first-time owner buys an existing restaurant from a retiring operator, 25 to 40% down, the rest financed. Building from scratch? That's rare. That's invitation only. And the current all-in range runs roughly $1.5 to $2.7 million. For a building that, you already know this part, will not be yours. And before you file this under someone else's problem, about 95% of McDonald's restaurants are run by people like Gus. So the last time you bought fries, odds are the person who sold them to you was a tenant. You've been paying Gus's rent for years. Well, part of it. His landlord takes the rest. So you're in, keys in hand, fryers on. Let's follow 1 month of your money out the back of the building, because there are 3 pipes back there and only one of them is about burgers. Pipe 1, the service fee. Since January 1st, 2024, a new owner pays 5% of gross sales to corporate, not profit, sales. That was the first increase in roughly 30 years. The old guard still pays 4. Welcome to the family. The new kids pay the surcharge. Pipe 2, the rent. Commonly 8 to 15% of gross sales, and on premium corners it runs higher. Again, of sales. The rent doesn't care if you made money this month. Rent never does. Pipe 3, everything else. The beef, the buns, the napkins, the wages, the shake machine repairs. And here, Kip will tell you something true and strange.
We don't make a penny selling food to our owners. Not one patty. Approved suppliers handle everything.
He's right again. Corporate sells its franchisees nothing. Except the one thing it sells every owner, every month, the ground under their feet. Now the 2 numbers the brochure never prints. In 2024, McDonald's collected $5.6 billion in royalties from franchisees. Rent from those same franchisees? $10.0 billion. The landlord makes almost double what the burger company does. Same tower, same logo, same Gus. One of the men who built this machine said it out loud decades ago, quote, "We are not technically in the food business. We are in the real estate business." He wasn't confessing, he was bragging. This is where you expect me to call it a scam. It isn't. The deal is good. That's the problem.
95% of our restaurants are owned by independent local business people.
True, and corporate needs every one of them to survive, because when your income is rent, an empty restaurant is the only thing you cannot afford. So the landlord picks your corner with decades of traffic counts, hands you a brand children recognize before they can read, and stands behind an operating manual 70 years in the writing. Gus doesn't guess how many buns to order in a snowstorm. There's a page for that.
Best, worst deal I ever signed.
And the deal compounds. Operators who run one store well get offered a second, then a fourth. There are franchisees whose holdings would qualify as mid-sized companies, and major banks keep dedicated McDonald's lending desks. One has run its program for over 30 years.
The bank approved me faster than my wife did.
The system is not designed to bleed Gus dry. It's designed to keep Gus solvent and signing forever. So there's the fortress, a landlord invested in your survival. And wealth that's real, for some, which is why nobody outside the system believed the next headline. The owners went to war with the landlord. Remember Kip's proudest sentence? The most proven business model in the history of food. The people running it have their own association, 1,200 owners organized like a union local. In 2021, they polled the membership on taking corporate to court. 3 out of 4 said file. Not activists, not critics, the family. Threatening to sue the dinner table. The spark was a technology bill. Corporate assessed operators roughly $70 million in fees the owners said corporate never proved they owed. It never became the lawsuit. It became something more useful to us. A receipt.
Every family has disagreements. We think it's healthy.
The disagreement was $70 million. The family sent an invoice.
And our owner-operators, our most successful ones, they weathered it beautifully.
Listen to the verb, weathered. You weather things you can't negotiate with. Hurricanes, landlords. Now run the interview backwards. They never asked if you could cook. There's a page for that. They never asked if you were a genius. The manual is the genius. But before you were allowed in the family, they verified, to the dollar, that your money was liquid and borrowed from no one. A bank would have lent you more. They didn't want a bank's money. They wanted proof that when an invoice like that one arrives, you pay it and the rent doesn't bounce. It's not an application. It's a credit check for the best vetted tenant in America.
Our owners are proud to reinvest. Nobody keeps a restaurant more modern than the family.
Third remodel since I signed. Their design, their deadline, my invoice.
The remodels are real. The big modernization push ran between roughly $160,000 and $750,000 per restaurant on a deadline. Corporate co-funded about half, which sounds generous until you remember whose building gets the upgrade. You're paying to renovate your landlord's asset. When you leave, the granite counters stay. And leverage flows one way because McDonald's owns or controls the land and buildings under the system. Roughly half the land and most of the buildings outright, the rest locked up in long-term leases it controls. When your landlord is also your franchisor, and the committee that decides if you ever get store number 2, every negotiation is you against the dinner table. And that war never ended. As of this January, corporate grades its owners on their menu prices. The owners answered with a Bill of Rights, 15 of them, including one you'd assume came with the word owner, pricing your own burgers. So, the question we started with, knowing all of it, why do smart people still line up? Because there are 2 ways to be Gus. Meet the other one. Delia runs 12 stores across 2 states. Same arches, same rent letter. Hers just has more zeros and less fear.
Delia sends corporate's calls to voicemail. Corporate calls back.
Watch the same machine at 2 scales. Gus's rent check eats a fat slice of one store's profit. 1 bad quarter, 1 remodel invoice, and his margin is a rounding error. Delia's rent checks are bigger, but they're spread across 12 P&Ls. Her overhead is 1 office, and when corporate calls about the next remodel, she's the one who can say, "Not this year," and be heard. Scale doesn't change the lease. It changes who's afraid of it. And the cost of the twist, in numbers you can check, the average McDonald's does about $4 million a year in sales. Run Gus's 2 pipes at their floor, 4% royalty, 8% rent, and the building pulls nearly $500,000 out of that store. Every year. rain, shine, or remodel.
22 years. I own a house, 2 trucks, and my kid finished college owing nothing. Never did get to Tucson. And the store? The store was never mine to own.
And there it is. Delia got rich the day she stopped being the person doing the work. The day the Friars became someone else's problem, and she became, functionally, a landlord with a landlord. The system pays whoever climbs from the kitchen to the ledger. The kitchen itself just pays rent.
We like to say the Golden Arches are a family.
They are. Families have inheritances. Check whose name is on the deed. The whole machine, one last time, small enough to keep. The customer pays Gus. Gus pays rent, royalties, and remodels. 3 invoices, 1 address. The landlord banks nearly twice what the burger company does, on buildings the tenants pay half to renovate. And the men who built the empire told us the truth about all of it, out loud, decades ago. Nobody was hiding anything. The fine print was never fine. It was just long. Everyone in this story gets rich before the person flipping the burgers. Gus read every page. Gus signed anyway. So would you.